John Bolton, who is no longer part of Trump's administration, is making his foreign policy disagreements with Donald Trump well known. He has basically pushed out all this harsh criticism against Donald Trump during a meeting, a lunch, with a group of right-wingers, including people like Rebecca Mercer. So let me give you the details on what he said. According to Politico, Bolton harshly criticized Trump's foreign policy at a private lunch, saying that inviting the Taliban to Camp David sent a, quote, terrible signal, and that it was disrespectful to victims of 9/11 because the Taliban had harbored Al-Qaeda. Also, he claimed that negotiations with North Korea and Iran were doomed to failure. And he also ripped Trump without using his name several times. Bolton said more than once that Trump's failure to respond to the Iranian attack on an American drone earlier this summer set the stage for the Islamic Republic's aggression in recent months. At one point, Bolton suggested that had the US retaliated for the drone shoot down, Iran might not have damaged the Saudi oil fields. Now again, I want to be clear about something. It is not definite that Iran attacked Saudi Arabia's oil facility. They deny that they did it. So far, the United States has failed to provide any concrete evidence that this was done by Iran. And so John Bolton loves war. He pushes for war. He wants to invade any country possible. And Donald Trump, of course, is going to respond to this. So let's take a look at what Trump's response is, and then we'll discuss.
John Bolton apparently was critical of you today, both your policies on Iran and on the Taliban.
Well, I was critical of John Bolton for getting us involved with a lot of other people in the Middle East. We've spent $7.5 trillion in the Middle East, and you ought to ask a lot of people about that. We are doing it the right way. We're doing it the smart way. It's very easy to go in. We could go in one instant, just one phone call. We could go in, and and that might happen. That might happen. But we will see what we will see. John was not able to work with anybody, and a lot of people disagreed with his ideas. And a lot of people were very critical that I brought him on in the first place because of the fact that he was so in favor of going into the Middle East, and he got stuck in quicksand. We became policemen for the Middle East, and it's ridiculous. So, and I've always felt that. I always felt it. From day one, I felt it. Even though I wasn't in government, I felt it. I think John really should take a look at how badly they've done in the past, and maybe a new method would be very good.
Yeah, so he's saying, I mean, honestly, everything that Trump said there was, most of what Trump said there was right.
Yeah, so look, I want to get back to the donors that are pushing for war in a second that John Bolton was speaking to, but I want to ask you guys an interesting question. And we'll do a poll on this. We'll call it tyt.com/Bolton, okay? And we'll put it up by the time you're watching this video later. It's not up right now as you're watching it live, but the poll is, who would you rather have in charge of US foreign policy? Donald Trump, and so you're thinking anybody but him, no, or John Bolton. And so that, I know that's a Hobson's choice and there's no winners there. And Trump is so unstable, and we were talking a little earlier about how, look, if we get into the middle of war, so here's the scenario. Trump gets goaded on, by Fox News or whoever, although half the Fox News guys are against the war. And he goes to war, and then Iran strikes back, and they take out an aircraft carrier. Is that possible? It's definitely possible. They take out an aircraft carrier, and all those guys die. Trump's gonna start talking about nukes, okay? Mm-hmm. So now having Trump as the head of our foreign policy is unbelievably disastrous. But your other option is Bolton. So that's why it's a tough poll, okay? Go vote at tyt.com/Bolton. We'll have the link down below later when you're watching this later on YouTube or Facebook. And I gotta say, I'm gonna vote Trump.
Yeah.
Because Bolton would definitely invade Iran, definitely, okay? And he would definitely take military action against North Korea and very likely against Venezuela. So we got 1 to 3 wars under Bolton guaranteed. That would be a worldwide disaster. So as unstable and insane and ridiculous as Donald Trump is, he's better than the neocons. And so part of the reason I tell you that, and that's my opinion, everybody, look, a lot of people vote no, anybody but Trump. But you got cable news like treating the neocons like they're legitimate actors. Oh, Bill Kristol, he's a never Trumper, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. They're the ones who made the worst decision of our lifetimes. and they would do it again, and they're brazen about that. So keep that perspective in mind, it's super important. And then now back to the donors. So he's giving this speech at Gatestone, or an event organized by Gatestone. Of course, there's a couple of billionaires in the crowd. John Catsimatidis in New York. He's a well-known lunatic in New York, involved in New York politics. And so all these right wings. Rebecca Mercer, the worst of the worst.
She referred to Bolton as, quote, the best national security advisor our country could have hoped for.
Yeah, so her and her dad, Robert Mercer, are billionaires, and they ran. They were a financial firm, and they bought off Donald Trump. They bought off Ted Cruz. They bought off a lot of the Republican Party, and they go, you give us tax cuts, you give us billions of dollars, and you do as you're goddamn told. And apparently they have some sort of interest in starting wars. So they probably put, if you're wondering how the hell did Bolton get into Trump's administration when they never agreed in the first place? You just saw the video yourself where Trump was like, hey, a lot of people criticize me. Probably the Mercers pulled him by his ear and said, hey, bitch, remember who got you elected and who gave you all the money? Put Bolton in there, full well knowing that Bolton had a decent chance at starting a war even if Trump didn't want it.
By the way, the Mercers have recently pulled their support away from Donald Trump. So they're no longer helping to fund his campaign. They don't support him. It might be due to his foreign policy decisions. I don't know. That's my speculation. But I do find it fascinating how incredibly wealthy people like the Mercers want the tax cuts, but they want more war. And guess who gets to pay for that war? It's the middle class and the working class, the people who actually do pay their taxes.
Hey, are any Mercers going to go to the war?
Of course not.
Are any of the Mercers going to go fight that war?
That's for the riffraff,
right? So if you're not going to go fight the war and you're going to make middle class Americans go and die on your behalf, please shut up. But look at how insane our political system in America is. The Mercers get to bribe any politician they like. It's now become legal because of the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision. And then we're not allowed to know where the Mercers who work in finance have invested their money. What if they invested it in oil? What if they put billions of dollars in oil, knowing that if you attack Iran, oil prices will obviously go up? And they're like, okay, let's make money. Let's give Trump $1 million. Let's give other Republicans a couple of $1 million. And when oil prices go up, as an example, we make 10 billion, 20 billion, $100 billion. Hey, bribing American officials, super easy. America's the most corrupt country in the world. We made bribery legal. And then I can just make billions of dollars off of this bribery. And now, okay, one last guy that was in the meeting there, but it's a murderer's row of terrible people that were at that meeting. Alan Dershowitz was there. Now, any media person that still calls Alan Dershowitz a liberal or a progressive, you're either ignorant or you're lying on purpose. So Dershowitz says about John Bolton that it was a, quote, national disaster that he was booted from the White House. And apparently that was met with, quote, thunderous applause. So Alan Dershowitz is like, yes, let's start a war with Iran. John Bolton is my best friend. Oh, it's such a shame he left the White House. You call that guy a liberal? Well, I mean, if there's any litmus test at all for progressives, being in favor of John Bolton, trust me, you don't get to pass that test. Alan Dershowitz is a conservative maniac. Trump and Bolton supporter. Any journalist that calls him a liberal supporting Trump is an idiot and is helping his lies and helping the neocons on purpose.
And I just want to know, one of the things that Bolton criticized Donald Trump for was the fact that he wants to pull out of Afghanistan. And look, we just killed 30 farmers, pine nut farmers in Afghanistan with a drone strike. We didn't have the right intel. We targeted the wrong people. So 30 innocent civilians were just killed from a US drone strike. 40 others were injured.
Just in the last 10 years, and we've been there 18 years, 16,000 civilians in Afghanistan have been killed. So, and then they wonder, so guys like Scarborough, so they hate us because they hate us. Dan Crenshaw, they hate us because they hate us. Well, if you choose to be stupid, that's on you, okay? No, they hate us because we went and killed all those innocent civilians. If you say, hey, it was right to go into Afghanistan in the first place, that's a different conversation. It's 18 years later, what the hell are we doing there? But Bolton says, no, we should stay longer, we should put in more troops. Alan Dershowitz applauds, and then he gets called liberal on television. Insanity. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.